Hello all and welcome to the latest Craftmania Sunday Showcase. I'm Jamie and I'll be talking you through today's showcase. I have 6 brand new products to share with you. I think you're really going to like these actually. They're quite clever, quite ingenious, shall we say. What we're looking at is embossing folders, but instead of just ordinary embossing folders, these ones have a die built into them. So the die is already nested on the inside of the embossing folder. It's stuck in place, so it's not going to move, which just makes it so much easier to use. It isn't something you've got to line up. They're there and they're ready, and you're going to be able to batch make these and keep them precise every time. It's not something you've got to line up and keep trying to get in the right place. That's a real added bonus. What this basically means is that this one will cut out an oval, and it will also emboss all of this really nice delicate floral sort of surround to it as well. So this is your oval one that I'll give you a little look into already. I know they're hard to see in this format, but I will be showing you how to use these and samples that I've made with them. So we'll just take a quick glimpse over them and then I'll actually get on to showing you a bit more about them. We then have sort of a delicate oval as such, which has got a really nice swirly butterfly design around it. We then have a nice delicate archway, which again has a really nice cutout in the middle of it to make sort of the archway sort of go through as such. We then have little birds on the top of that one. We've got then quite a symmetrical style with a circle in the middle, which I quite like because this is quite general. We can really dress this up for just about any occasion. Quite like this one for men's cards as well. And if you are still doing Christmas cards, why not sort of make it a bit snowflakey with your colour scheme? A lot you could do with that one. Then we have a heart one. And again, this one's so lovely and ornate around the edge of it. And if you don't like the heart aspect, the same with a lot of these, cover it up with another die. Again, I can show you that as I've done it on one of my samples, but it just looks like a really nice filigree edge around the side of it then. And then lastly, for our 6th design, we have a really nice floral edge going around just an ordinary rectangle cut out to make a really lovely frame. Now, I've used all of these today for just cards, so I'm going to show you 12 different cards I've made. But of course, a lot of these would lend themselves really nicely to scrapbooking if you are a scrapbooker, and making frames and bits for home decor as well. So there's an awful lot you could do with these. Now, normally these will sell for £5.99 each, but this week and this week only, as this is a Sunday showcase, we have a very special offer for you where you can buy one of all 6 designs for just £25. Now, these should cost you £35.94, so you've got a saving of nearly £11 on this, which is really good because let's be honest, you might not like all 6 of these, and if there is a couple you're not so sure about, you're virtually getting them for free. So it's a good way to look at that. If you've got them for your stash, you might use them one day, but if you do love all of them, even better. Personally, I wouldn't know how to pick between them. I'm quite in love with all of them. I think there's quite a lot of uses we could do with every single one of them, but they are a lovely product to work with. So with that in mind, I want to show you how they work, because I know sometimes when we switch it up a bit, people are a little unsure of how easy these will be to work with. So all I've done is I've got my heart one ready. I'm going to put just a piece of pearl card on the inside of this. Now this is Centura pearl card, so it's 300 GSM, so it's quite thick. And I'm just going to use this with my cut and emboss machine, just simply because it's the only machine I've got about at the moment to show you with. But of course, being the size these are, you could be using them in a big shot, a Cuttlebug, a Grand Caliber, pretty much any of the leading die cutting machines. These are of a C6 size, so they're not too large. So again, if you do have the smaller format machines, you're not going to have a problem with them. And if you do work on bigger cards, of course we can mat them up to make them larger, or why not do a couple of them depending on the size of the card you're doing. There's quite a lot of things we can do with that style as well, and I'll show you that again. So all I've done is I've just popped it through the machine once. That will actually cut it and emboss it for us. So we can just pop out the cutout from the centre, and you can see we've got some really nice, deep, delicate embossing just through one pass through the machine. The bit it cuts out, of course, these can be used as well. I've got a little bit of a stash going on down here, showing you a few of the different ones that I've got from inside my ones. And there's no reason we can't use them for toppers and sentiments and different pieces as well. So don't throw them out. One of the nice bits with them as well is they give a nice embossed edge around the side of them. So they are just ripe for using on your next project. Now, I've just shown you how to use these as a really simple embossed idea. There's loads of different ways you can use embossing folders. We can build them up with gilding waxes, we could pixie powder over them, gilding polishes. There's loads we can do to add to these. But one of my favourite techniques that I've not shared with you before, that we can do with embossing folders, is if we want to actually ink the folder. So I have one here from earlier. You can see it's already got a bit of a pink tinge from where I've been lazy and not washed it out. And we're going to take the side with the dye on it. This is the top of it. So this side is the raised side, which is going to push our card into the openings on this side of the embossing folder to form our embossed pattern. And that's the blade that's going to cut out the hole. And all I'm going to do is just take a Memento ink pad, and I'm literally just going to sort of squidge this going all the way over the top of it. Now hopefully you can pick up on camera how intense the ink is. It's not necessarily a really bright one, this one, but it's bright enough for what I want to do with it. Now you can do this to any embossing folder, and if you are going to do it to just a standard embossing folder, one without a dye in the middle of it, applying your ink with a brayer can sometimes help, because if the pattern is quite large, like some of my larger flowers here, sometimes the ink will go into the middles of the flowers and you could end up with a bit of a splodgy mess, where if you brayer it over the top, you don't have that problem. But because our dye is sitting prouder than the embossed part, if we was to brayer this, we wouldn't get nothing really, especially around this area. We would just pick up the die cut or the die actually itself. So I'm going to brush this over the top here. If you are going to be doing this with these folders, I'd recommend that you have a cotton earbud to hand, and any of the large flowers, just go in and give them a little bit of a clean out, just to make sure there isn't any surface ink in there. I'm not going to bore you by doing this with all of this, so bear in mind I'll have a little bit of splodge on mine. You can see this was a clean earbud before I began, and you can see how much ink I've picked up just in that one flower. I don't actually mind a little bit of it. Sometimes I think it can give quite a nice distressed effect to how it turns out, and I'll show you that on one of mine later. But for the purpose of this video, I want you to remember that that one's been cleaned out and the other ones haven't. So there might be a bit of splodginess in them. We then just take our card, lay it back onto the folder and close it over. Doesn't matter what way up we put this into the machine, but we're going to pop it back in, put our mat on top and send it through again. Now of course you can build up different ink effects with this. You don't have to just stick to one colour. You can do quite nice ombre effects and that using different inks. There's a lot of different techniques you can do within this technique as such. So if it's something you haven't seen before, you might want to give it a Google, because there are loads of different ways you can do it and effects you can achieve from it. But when we bring it out this side, where we have only inked the top of our folder, you can see that this bit has all been left plain. Simply because the ink didn't go into that part of it and didn't cover that, it means that all our embossed flowers are left plain. Now when we pop out the middle, we can see that we can get rid of the messy bit, and then once we've trimmed it down, we've got a really nice interesting effect without a lot of hard work. Now you may well have seen this done before. It's certainly not something I've come up with. It's been around for a long time, but these folders really do lend themselves to that technique and give you a different effect. So it might be something, if you haven't done it, you might want to play about with and use that yourself. I'll show you a card shortly that I've done using this technique, so you can see an end result as well as just me sort of playing about showing you how to use it. So let's move on and look at some cards I have actually made and completed for you. As I say, I've got 12 of them today, so you're going to see every different design of the folders used in 2 different ways. Of course, I always try and stress this. If there is one you like, of course you could do pretty much any of the designs in that theme, but I try to do 12 different ideas to show you completely different colour schemes and that you could be doing with these. But it's such a lovely set. Once you've got them, you're going to have endless ideas of your own, I'm sure. The first one I've done is just keeping it really plain and simple. We're using the oval, the sort of fancy delicate oval one with the embossed butterflies around the edge. Now you can see just how deep the impression is on these. They really have lined up and embossed really beautifully. I've actually used the insert piece it's cut out and stamped a little message on there. Now the stamps you're going to see today all come off of this month's free magazine. I was meant to show you this, so I'll just reach and get it. This is our latest stamping edition magazine. If you haven't seen these, These are amazing. They're only £5.99. On one side you get a magazine showing you loads of ideas of how to use them. On the back of it you get a whole sheet of stamps, which is worth over £25. And on here there's loads of bits. We've got some really nice little messages hidden in here that you'll see on a lot of my cards. I'll also show you some of the butterflies on one of them a little later. I really like the look of the bird, but just didn't get a chance to use it. You'll also get to see our little cup and flower display on one of the cards as well. So you do get an awful lot and well worth the money. To be honest, this cherry blossom star stamp down here, we do one of them in store and that's £5.99 just on its own on a sheet. So to think for the same £5.99, you're going to get all of this as well. That really is worth getting one of these too. And as I say, you're going to see quite a few bits from these used on my cards today. So it'll give you a few ideas of how you could use them. So going back to the card itself, you can see on here we have one of the verses off of there. And this one reads, "No matter how long the winter, spring is sure to follow." And with the snow that's going on at the moment, that's quite a nice sentiment to be thinking of, isn't it? Over the top of mine, I've just distressed it. I've used wild honey and seedless preserves to get my sort of two-tone effect. I've then done that on the same panel to matte and layer it on. And then just used the seedless preserves on the butterfly just to tone it in. Really, really quick and simple card. But just wanted to show you how beautiful this folder is. To be honest, when I use these colours normally, I tend to add a little bit of iridescent glitter as well. So you could certainly do that to jazz it up and make it pop a bit more if you wanted to. The next one I wanted to show you, again, this works with a lot of the folders. Any of the ones that have got a symmetrical design, you can do this with. I've taken 5 folders, so that's a completed one as such. And I'll show you one I've got here. So just take your folder, fold it in half. If you want to do it on a scoreboard, it will certainly give you a better crease line. And then all we're going to do is stick all 5 together, going round into a circle. In between the layers I've just put in a little punch strip. So that's this little white bit coming out the side here, just to give it a bit of a delicate effect. But of course you could add lace or ribbons or leave it plain if you wanted a more squared off style. On one side, I've painted in all of my different butterflies to highlight them on the embossing folder. And I've also painted the gems down the side. And I've also painted my little MDF hanger in the middle. Again, on the top of that, I've stamped My Special Friend. And that's one of the stamps that comes free with the magazine. Now, the paint I've used to actually do all this, my gems, my butterflies and my wooden bit, including the little bead on the top of my wooden bit, are these paints here. Now, you may have seen on Facebook on Friday we launched these. We had 4 colours up until now, but we've just had a really large top-up delivery, and as you can see, we've added in quite a few new colours to the collection. These are only £4.99, and they're designed that when they dry, they'll give you a nice metallic metal style effect. So if you haven't got a nice metallic metal paint, these might be one to add. They're also very good for adding accents to furniture as well, but as you can see, they work very well on sort of the resin of the gems, the cardboard and the wood. So there's quite a lot of surfaces you could be using these on. If you don't like the green accent, I've left this side plain and just added white pearls to it, and obviously not highlighted the butterflies. So just to give you a different take on it, you might not like the green. I know green's a bit of a love-hate colour. Personally, I quite like green, but I know there's a lot of people who don't like it. So of course we could have done it in any colour scheme. So think on that if you do like the idea. And of course it can fold flat as well. So if you are somebody who's thinking about posting your items, they do go down quite flat. But once they've got them, they can pop them out and actually have a bit of a 3D effect. Of course, you could even write your sentiment or your message or your greeting, whatever you wish to call it, on the hanging butterfly itself. Again, with these paints, you can just write over the top with a pen if you wanted to. So you could really dress that up a bit better if you wish to. The hangers themselves, obviously I've got the butterfly in the middle of my one. These again are new in. We have a butterfly, we have a heart, and we have a flower. And these are only 39p each, which is probably the cheapest wooden shapes we've actually had, to be honest. And they already come hung, and they've also got a little bead on the top, so it makes them perfect for adding into little projects like this. You'll also get to see the heart one used in a minute on another one of my cards. Moving on. We will move on to a different shape this time, so now we're going to go on to that oval one. Now that's the oval one that I show you with the ink technique, and these are the cards I did the inking on. So the nice bit with the oval one obviously is we can turn it to be in both directions. So you can see here the floral bit comes up around the corner and then down and around the corner on this side. I've just made it a gatefold card out of a couple of sheets of A4 card to create this effect. And obviously, as you can see, I've added a decoupage sheet into the middle of my oval this side, and then I've continued the theme onto the inside of that as well, using the ink to colour my mats so that everything matches in. And of course, as you can see, there's a nice ribbon bit to tie up into a bow before it goes into its envelope. But that gives you just a different idea. I like the idea with the ovals and that, how many different bits and bobs you can put into them. I really wanted to make a shaker card today as well, because I thought these really lend themselves to shaker cards and would certainly give you a nice polished effect to them. But I just simply ran out of time, I'm afraid. But if any of you get these and make shaker cards with them, or any cards with them, we'd certainly love to see what you do. So please don't hesitate to send us some photos on Facebook, and we'll share them with the world if you give us your permission to, so we can all see what you're getting up to, because we love ideas from other people too. Moving on, let's show you a different card with that oval one. So this time I've gone for a bit of a white work effect. You'll see another white work one in a minute, but I just wanted to show you how simple you can make these, and how if you don't want to dress them up with inks and paints and all that lot, you really don't have to. So this is just one done on pearl white card, added in a few pearls, and then as you can see, just a few flower die cuts and butterflies. At the bottom here I've got the same punch that I used on my little star style card, the one that we put in the middle. That's our little delicate doily punch. These are available in store or online for $7.99. I use this one quite a lot, to be honest, because it just sort of fits in with most themes. So it comes out, and you've probably seen it on a video or two previously as well if you're a favourite watcher of ours. But that's just to make our stopper down the bottom there. Moving on, I'm going to show you the circle one. So the circle one, as I said earlier, we could dress this one up to like make it look like snowflakes and bits if we wanted to. This one I've actually tried to go for more of a floral idea. So I've actually embossed this just on cream card. It was actually a complete card blank as such. And then I've gone over the top with a black ink pad to highlight the pattern on it. And then I've used our new pens. Again, these launched on Saturday, I believe, on Facebook. So you may have seen them on our website or on Facebook. But they're metallic markers. And one of the good bits with these is they've got quite a nice thin tip to them. And they'll pretty much write on anything. So again, not only have I coloured on my card here, I've also coloured the wooden heart in the middle, which is another one of our hanging shapes, with the red one of the pens. So if you're not a painter and you prefer just an ordinary felt, these will give you that nice metallic shimmer the same way. And as you can see on my pattern, I've used the blue and the lilac to give me that sort of two-tone effect. And then just added gems into the middles of the solid flowers. So again, quite a simple one to make, but just gives you a bit of a different idea of how we could be using these. Again, obviously, just because I've gone for a tent style, there's no reason we couldn't go for an ordinary landscape. There's no reason you couldn't do two of them if you wanted to, and have two circle apertures. There really is so much you can do with these. The limits are just endless, to be fair. I also wanted to show you how you can make quite nice men's cards with this one, and a bit more modern. Bit time travel-y was my aim. So on this one I've gone for just Centura Pearl. Again, I've cut it out using the embossing folder, and then just added a few more dies and paper cuts to it to give it a bit of a travel-y theme. So again, quite simple to do, but just gives you a different idea. And again, so easy to turn it that way if you would prefer more of a C6 landscape instead of a portrait. Just so many options in how you can turn these and different ideas you can do with them. Moving on to this side, we will show you a few more. So this time we have our arch one. So the arch one, I wanted to do this slightly differently. I actually put just an ordinary A5 card into my embossing folder, as is, and it cut through both levels of my card and embossed it for me. So all I've done is gone over the top with just some gilding wax around the edges. I then with a knife cut down the side and created my own stepper effect on the side here. But it was more the arch I wanted to show you, and how then you could put a little message behind it. Or if you're doing wedding cards, a lovely bride and groom, or if you're going to do men's cards, turn it into a garden arch and put some flowers with it and maybe greenhouse in the background. You really could go off on so many different tangents depending on the theme and time you're doing. Again, if you're somebody who's going to be doing Easter cards, it might come in quite nice in that sense as well. So quite a lot you could do with this arch. I'm going to show you a different one with that as well. This one's just a different take on it. Again, going a bit more spring summer style. And I've used some of the stamps off of the magazine for this one. So we have a really nice floral bit through the archway, which is just under my parchment level. This is just a piece of parchment I've cut it out of and embossed it. And you can see again how really delicate the work's actually been embossed into that, and it hasn't damaged the parchment. Some folders you put parchment into and it just rips it apart. With this one, it really is just a quality folder, so you've just got really nice embossing with no damage to the actual material. The butterflies again are from the stamp sheet on the free magazine, so you really do get some nice bits on that. So is the little verse at the top up here as well. So same sentiment as what I used on the first card I read out about spring not being too far away. Moving on, we have one of our rectangle designs. Now this is a bit of a different one. I've created this quite easily, to be honest, but I think it looks like I've put quite a bit of work in, which I think are the best sort of cards. If you can get stylish and elegant with a little work and a little effort, I'm happy. So with this one, all I've done is I've done my embossing folder with the cutout, and I've done it 3 times for 3 different pages in my booklet. I've then taken a piece of A4 card and cut it down to match, scored the edge and cut the hole in the middle to match the one in my embossing folder, and then layered on my embossing folder with foam pads, and then fed into it different leaves and flowers coming out from between the levels. Then on the last one, on the back of it, I've put a panel and I've stamped my sentiment on the inside of it. Of course, if you wanted to, you could hang wordings from inside there. We could, of course, go for a stand-up instead of a sort of downward style card if you wanted to. But I quite like the fact that when it sits open, you see the different elements on the different panels. And again, there's a lot more we could do with that to play about with it, and little butterflies we could add in if we wanted to, or wordings, flowers, whatever you wish. But it's just a concept really for you. I also thought you could possibly do something if you're thinking of wedding invitations. Of course, the wedding season's not far away. Again, that might be something that you could get quite a stylish effect that you're not going to mind batch making by the hundreds, because if these do so much of the work for you, you could get a really nice effect without too much hassle. Moving on, we have another one of our rectangle ones. So this time, this piece of card started off white, but I've done my inky technique on my embossing folder like I showed you earlier. But this time I've used a teal ink. It's gone through, and then I've taken a black ink pad and just brushed it over the top of it, just to pick up all of the embossed work. I was sort of going for sort of a modern mixed media-y style frame for this one was sort of the aim. And then I just wanted something quite crisp and completely contrasting to go in the middle, so I've just used a nice die cut to sort of go for the focal point as such, and then my little happy birthday tagged down the bottom. Again, so much you could do with that to dress it up. I really wanted to play with some pixie powders. I know I sound like an addict, I confess this every week, I do have a bit of a thing for my pixie powders. I felt these folders would have been a lovely place to use my pixie powders, but I just simply ran out of time. But do watch this space, because these folders aren't going anywhere, and I'm sure at some point I will be able to attack them with some pixie powders and bring you some ideas with them too. So watch out, we'll do that sometime. Moving on, we will have another look at another card. So this time we're going on to the heart design. This was actually the first card I made with these today. Just the heart design done on the burgundy card, and then over the top of it I've just added some gilding wax over the top of this one, just using my finger to apply it over the top of it. The flowers, these may well look familiar to you. I actually pinched these. These were on one of the cards that we did for the Formable Foam Week a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't seen that video yet, you're really missing out on a treat. Go back and have a look at that one if you get a chance. It's the foam showing you how to make these really beautiful flowers and how to put your stamens into the middle of them. And I'd actually already gilding waxed these with the same colour wax. So when I was making this card, I was like, it's going to be the perfect addition to go on here. And it shows you a bit more how you can cover up the heart a little if you wish to. Obviously, I've added a little photo in the middle of my one. Again, as I said, you can use these for scrapbooking quite easily, or home decor. So they might make quite nice picture frame inserts and bits like that as well. There's certainly a lot you can do with them, not only cards if you wanted to. And then on to my last card, my very last one today. So this is the same heart design again, but this time I've made it into a little bit of a booklet thinking of Valentine's Day, because of course I know Christmas is nearly upon us, so our next season will be Valentine's Day. So this time I've taken my folder, I've done it 5 times to do my 5 pages. I've simply just cut a piece of black card, hopefully you can see this, piece of black card to mat them onto, and then scored them at half an inch to make a little flap to attach to the next panel, and then done that all the way along, going all the way to the end one. The end one obviously you don't need a panel to attach it to, so you can cut that ½ inch bit off, but it will just make it into a little zigzaggy book for you. Of course, if you wanted to, there's no reason you couldn't decorate the back as well. If it is somebody that you're sending it to that you love, or your husband maybe, or your wife, whoever it may be you're sending it to, you could of course attach photos to the back of it, or lots of soppy love letters and bits like that if you wanted to, depending on who it is. I know some of us would prefer to murder our other halves and send them soppy love letters and pictures, so that's up to you if you wish to. But it's quite a nice way to make a little booklet. Again, it's quite nice as well. Obviously we've gone for sort of the love idea, but brag books are all the rage. Why not put your children in it and give them to the grandparents for Christmas? There's a lot of different things you could do with a booklet like this. And although, as I said at the very beginning, I've done this with the heart version of the embossing folder, you could do this with any of the pictures. That oval or that really nice one with the butterflies on, and then put your little girls' photos in them maybe. Might be really lovely as a present for somebody this Christmas. As I said earlier, if you don't like the heart one, we can of course cover up the bits in the middle, and it sort of hides the fact it's a heart. So here on top of my heart, you can see it's under there somewhere, I've just taken the middle part out of the butterfly folder and stamped my sentiment on it. And then once you've foam padded that in place, you can't see the heart at all, and it covers it up quite nicely. I had a feeling some of you may wish to know how I've got my edging to my embossing folder. Now this is something I often struggle with because I love embossing folders, but sometimes I want to highlight a bit of it and bring it out a little bit more than just the flat panel. But often if I go in with inks and that, I don't always get the result I like. Well, these pens come into stock this week and I love them. They're fine liner pens. You're going to get 12 in a little carry case, and it is a nice little carry case, so you can keep them in this for life. They're fine liner pens and they're only £4.99. So all I've done with mine is literally pick the pen and traced around the edge of the design. Now again, because these are quite deep embossing folders, you can do this quite quickly and easily and just pick out the design as much as you want to. Of course, if you wish to, you could do a couple of different colours. It doesn't have to all be the same, but it just frames it and gives it a different effect. So that's how I've sort of added to mine and tied it in with the background colour of the card. So quite simple, but these pens really are great because they've got quite an extended nib out of the end of them as such. When you do come to do it on here, it will just sort of, it's like it's on a track. It sort of feels like it knows where it's going, if that makes any sense. It will just keep to the edge and go round it. And I only went off par a little bit every now and again. And I did 6 of these today. So yeah, quite quick and easy to do and gives you a nice effect. So these pens might be something you want to add to your Christmas wish list as well. Again, they're only £4.99, so for 12 pens, that's what, less than 50p a pen? Never very good at maths, so but I think I'm right on that one, so it might be a good one for you to add on to your purchasing. So just to recap once again, we have 6 different designs of folders. You have your oval, just your standard oval with the flowers around the edge. We then have our fancy oval with the butterflies, our really lovely garden arch, our sort of geometric circle, delicate heart, and then our nice rectangle frame. Now, as I say, these will be sold separately after the end of this week. They will be £5.99 each. But this week and this week only, you can buy all 6 for just £24.99, meaning you're going to save nearly £11. So it's quite a nice little bargain to be had. And what a wonderful Christmas present. You could certainly drop a line to Santa and ask him for these. I'm sure he would oblige. All of the cards you've seen today will go onto our Pinterest page, so if you do want to come back to these at another time and have a little look at what we was on about, then of course you can pop on Pinterest and pin them so they don't go nowhere. Our video of course will stay on YouTube as well, so if at any time you want to come back and have a little look at it, you can. It's going to add into our library of nearly 100 videos. We now have just under 250 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and it's just jumping up every week, and I keep giving you little reminders of how well we're doing. And again, thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe. And if you've enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Next week, it will be Christmas Eve when I see you again. I will be back. We're not just going to skip Christmas. We will have a Christmas video. So hopefully I will see you then. Thank you so much for watching today. And bye for now.